So here we are 20 games into the season. I thought it would be a good time to evaluate the roster. And let's start with the head of the snake, Steph Curry, right? I think the positive thing is the sniper rifle is well oiled, right? It's performing as usual. He still is the best shooter in the world. Another positive that I've noticed of late is I like the way he's finishing. Obviously, you would have liked for him to have finished that game winner floater with the left hand, right? That was a difficult shot, but as of late, he's been getting to the middle of the rim, finding a body, and then getting to his strong right hand. I think he kind of reevaluated some of his finishing after that miss, and so I like the way he's been finishing of late. And again, still the best shooter in the world, right? Now, defensively, I had alluded to it yesterday in that short reel, you know, it's his closeouts. His closeouts off the ball, well, usually you're off the ball when you're closing out, right? But they drive me crazy. He does this thing where he puts his hands up like 10 feet before he gets there. And what would slow you down? If you were trying to get somewhere quickly, it would slow you down to put your hands out like this, right? Get there and then put your hands out. It drives me crazy. He's been doing it his whole career. But he tends to sink down too low as the low man or on the weak side, and then he kind of just gets caught in no man's land, and then he has some very lackadaisical closeouts, which the whole team has, but those are the two things that I feel like have been negative. And then just there's been a lot of ISO dribbling from Steph this year, and he's still really good at it, right? But it's not a winning recipe at 35 years old. Like, hey, all of a sudden, dribble more, ISO more, So again, overall big picture, I think Steph is still Steph offensively, which is the most important thing. And we sit here at the end of the LeBron Steph era. We all see the young talent that's coming right now. But I think the irony is, they're kind of dealing with the same thing in the sense of the guy that was supposed to be their Robin, their sidekick, has kind of let them down, you know? And AD, Wiggins, look, Jordan Poole was supposed to be that guy. Now he's in DC showing Trump what a real clown is, right? But it was supposed to be why, there's so many different, causes and effects, while Andrew Wiggins certainly up until like of late has been more durable than Anthony Davis. I think at their core, they kind of suffer from the same thing. I've been speaking about it for a long time with AD. It's a competitive stamina, a lack thereof competitive stamina, like just night to night, the motor, it's just up and down. It like if Wiggins or Anthony Davis were a fighter, you'd have to slap them around in the locker room before they walk to the cage or the ring, right? Wake up. You got to get their competitive spirit and motor up. It's not just naturally as high as you need it to be as a star player, right? And so that leads me into Andrew Wiggins. And listen, I cannot believe how many people were trying to shoot him bail with this finger injury. I had people saying they were going to leave the channel, like they can't believe that I was giving him a heart. Like, do y'all watch NFL? Do y'all watch football? Like, what are we doing here? It really is kind of like a sign of the times, right? That people were like, oh, well, his finger's sore. Leave him alone. Let him be, right? Like, and I'll tell you why I know it's whack is because he warmed up, did shoot around, and then was like, oh, it'll be better in a couple days. Not tonight. Meanwhile, we're playing a Clippers team full of big athletic wings. So listen, it's unfortunate because Wiggins looked like the lid was coming off the basket, right? He was finally catching a rhythm and getting his legs under him and all that. And that's why it was even more frustrating for him to not push through and just get out there, tape the finger up and defend. If he would have went out there and shot 2 of 12, I wouldn't have killed him. I would have got it. Like, all right, his fingers hurt, but he was out there trying to help the team. Instead, he's in a sweatsuit on the bench, right? And so, again, he was seemingly catching a rhythm and playing better just before this finger issue. And as great of a fit as he is on paper for this Warriors team, I'm no longer attached to the idea that he has to be a part of the future. Like, there's been too many incidents to me where it's like, oh, you don't really, how much do you really want to play, bro? That's what I see. And I can't, and again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm not saying you can't defend Wiggins, but I was taken back by how many people were like almost offended by calling him out for not wanting to hoop. Klay Thompson, who has probably been, the the hot button topic for the Warriors thus far through 20 games. And we've already talked about him a ton. A lot of people helped me out with that word I was talking about in the last video, atrophy. Atrophy is, I believe, how you pronounce it. The definition is gradually decline or ineffectiveness or vigor due to underuse or neglect. And it could be muscle, it could be an organ, right? It's atrophy. And I was speaking on Klay, appears to have some atrophy in that right leg, the Achilles leg. He doesn't want to land on it when he shoots. That's why he's always off balance. That's why he's always doing the Mick Jagger with the right leg, kind of hanging out there. It's one thing when you're drifting to the corner and you're using it kind of as a pendulum, but when you're just doing it squared up, you're off balance, right? And so that was the word that I was looking for. I appreciate all y'all in the comments that pointed that out to me and gave me the word that I was searching for. I think that it can be reversed. You're dealing with the super high level athlete in Klay Thompson. He's 33 years old. I imagine it would be through a lot of isometric holds, which is like, I don't know if you guys have tried that in the gym. I recommend it for old hoopers with, sore knees, is get down in a lunge position or get down into a squat position and you hold it, right? Those holds and probably some sort of very specific plyometrics to get the muscles in that leg firing. A concentrated effort, I think that he could get over that and he could find his balance again, right? As I was looking into how you would attack fixing that, another big part that was highlighted was nutrition. A big part of it is going to be the nutrition is going to. So you have to dial in that aspect of it. And I said it in, I think it was the last breakdown. Some of you are probably ain't going to like this, but all I can do here is tell you how I feel. And when I watch Klay, I see someone who is chiefing too much. I think he's smoking too many trees. Everyone's lifestyle is different, right? And I think everybody has different levels of it, but I just feel like there is a delay in his motor skills as well as cognitively on the court. And to me, I'm like, that looks like someone who's probably chiefing too much. And look, Klay's statue has already been carved, right? His legacy is set. So who am I to say how much Klay should do this? And then that it's his prerogative. It's his lifestyle. But there is a give and a take. There is a cost to everything. And I think the consequence is you may not be the same player on the court if you're not willing to sacrifice off the court. And the fact of the matter is, the older you get as an athlete, the more sacrifice you have to make off the court or off the field to maintain. And to me, I'm not sure Klay is making those sacrifices, but yet he wants those rewards on the court. That brings me to Draymond. And what's crazy is here we sit in the twilight of this dynasty, and he might be the player I'm least worried about, right? It's so crazy how these things play out. He's come in here year one in a legacy contract and put his money where his mouth is, right? He looks like he is hungry to compete and win at a high level until the very end. The shot is very real. You can see he's put in the work, and he just, again, he's put his money where his mouth is. Now, I know that there is a portion of the fan base that's just done with Draymond. They're frustrated. They don't like his volatility. And I understand that. There's been so many times I've been frustrated with Draymond, but the reality is I don't think we hang one of those banners without Draymond Green. Now, that can be said about all three of those guys, right? And there perhaps lies the problem right now, right? But as far as Draymond's volatility and keeping his emotions in check on the court, he's got to be better, right? I think objectively we can all say that. What I would say is work smarter, not harder. When he's going to blow up and he's upset and he's frustrated, draw a sneaky one on the other end. Get your revenge and take it out because he has the skill set, the experience to do it. You saw him draw a couple cheap ones against the Clippers, fighting over screens and taking charges and stuff like that. I'm sure CP could lend him his handbook in drawing cheap fouls, right? I think that would be a way for him to not hurt the team and still kind of get his frustration out in his revenge. Work smarter, not harder. But overall, man, I don't think Draymond's the issue right now. Yes, it sucks that you can point to the track record, but I think we need that fire. And I've been very impressed with the work he's put in on his shot and the way he's approached this legacy contract, at least right now. Underdog Fantasy. Use the code Alchemy, get a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $100. I've continued to have a lot of success and adapt as the season's gone on. And, like someone like Scoot Henderson, who is finally healthy and playing and is going to get more opportunity. I feel like some of those points, higher and lowers, are off initially, especially with the young guys where we don't really know what they're going to do yet, but you can kind of start to see. Anyway, we've got this in-season tournament going on, and it's been special, right? It's been cool. They've kind of taken off the fouls. That's been a category that I've liked to use. My picks for tonight is something light because, again, I usually get more options of three-pointers made and fouls that I like to use. But I'm going to go our old friend Dante DiVincenzo in New York, higher than 7.5 points. He's been on one lately. He's been hot, and it's kind of volatile the way Tibbs's rotations go. There's a lot of depth there, but I like him against his former team, the Bucks, to go higher than 7.5. And then this Phoenix Lakers matchup, I'm going to go higher than 9.5 points for Grayson Allen. Brad Beal is still out. I expect it to be a competitive game, and I think he's going to get a lot of shots in that weak side corner and remain aggressive. Those are my Underdog Fantasy pick'ems for this evening. Again, link in the description. Last but not least of this core, right, is Cavon Looney. Be like Loon. Well, maybe not this year. Maybe not this year, right? Loon, look, he's carrying some extra weight. There's no doubt about it, right? And I think you're seeing it hurt him most finishing around the basket. He's just been a step slow, and he's not, he kind of had this breakthrough when Mahovich, the big man coach, came in, where he figured out like different ways to finish, and he didn't always have to use that crab dribble. Well, he's back to using that crab dribble, right? And it's funny because I think that this Iron Man streak for Looney has it's kind of turned into a hindrance, because I think what we're seeing is I think he's overpacing himself to play every game. That's kind of what I see. And look, when push comes to shove, I think we all know who Looney is and what he will provide. But I think with this current roster in this Western Conference, we don't have the luxury for him to ease his way into the season. I'm going to shout out one of my patrons, Balling Forever. He's got a lot of good takes, and I wanted to share this one with you in a comment where I had been complaining about Klay's defense, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if we can survive with the way Klay is defending out there. And this is what Balling Forever had to say. Klay's issues are exasperated by our lack of rim protection. He's no worse than guys like Hero, Robinson, and other shooters defensively. However, they are hidden by a mountain of good rim protection on the back line. Small ball works when there are great point of attack defenders on a front line that can contain dribble drives. However, in the Warriors situation, Klay is no longer a good point of attack defender, nor is he locked into the overall schemes. That is part of what separated him from the Reddicks, Corvers, etc. Now that he and Steph are aged, I don't think we can just have Looney on the back line anymore. We got to upgrade that center position or trade Klay for a Jeremy Grant or a Siakam type of player, unfortunately. And I know that that's kind of been a big subject. Like, hey, are they going to blow this up? Like, what are we going to do? And, you heard me yesterday, we need more size and athleticism. And, I think the bottom line is the core three have to adapt, right? It's no longer about everyone fitting around how they want to play. I think they've got to adapt a little more, right, at this stage. And again, ironically, it seems like Draymond is the first to do so. He's like, I got to start making the three. I got to start looking to finish, right? And so I think I'm not saying completely abandon their style of play, but it can no longer be like, hey, fit in or get out, right? I think that they need more help than that. You know what I'm saying? So we're at an interesting spot here, a quarter through the season. Those are my thoughts on the core guys. Later in the week, I'll be back with a video evaluating the young guys in the bench. We got the Blazers Wednesday. You got to win that game, right? You got to. As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.